Hey guys, what's going on? My name is John and welcome to my GameStreet81 in 3D channel, and this is my walkthrough part 2 of the Funspot arcade or fun center located in Laconia, New Hampshire. This is the world's largest arcade. They have hundreds of machines. They have hundreds more in storage. It's pretty unbelievable. This is the spot of the popular gaming documentary called King of Kong. They filmed a lot of it here. They have numerous tournaments throughout the year. You got a lot of retro games. All the games, most of the games, I should say, are from the 80s and earlier. Only a few games are from the 90s. I'm still upstairs here at part 2, and got Track and Field and Lunar Lander, Contra, which is classic, Alien Syndrome, Satan's Hollow, Galaxian. These are just all classic. And the cool thing about these games are they're all kind of in clusters and areas of manufacturer or who made them. So you got Atari in one area, you got Capcom in another, you got Namco in another. So that's kind of cool. So most of these games are working. There was some few machines that weren't necessarily functioning. This was filmed during the time of when PAX East in Boston was being held, so there's a few machines that were taken away for that. But if you're ever in the New Hampshire area, Laconia area, definitely check this place out. It's pretty unbelievable. It's like a museum of arcade games. In fact, it's where ACAM, American Classic Arcade Museum, is held. And it's the top spot to go if you're a huge arcade enthusiast like myself. Apologize for some of the lighting in this is not very good. It's kind of dark. You know, they have only a few cocktail arcades. There's Dragon's Lair, Mousetrap, which is kind of like a Pac-Man clone essentially. There's Challenge, Looping, Punch Out, which is dual Nintendo. We're kind of coming into the Nintendo line where they have a lot of the classic Nintendo games. Here's a Play Choice 10, which is kind of an NES, basically stand-up NES with 10 games in one. Popeye versus Golf wasn't functioning. Versus Dr. Mario, Donkey Kong Jr. R-Type, which yes, was made by Nintendo for the arcades, ported to Nintendo. Donkey Kong 2, that's actually a fan-made cabinet. There's 4 new levels for the Donkey Kong, and it's navy blue instead of the lighter blue. And they've come up with the artwork, and I actually have one of that cabinet in my house. It's a really cool game, very cool fan-made ROM. Also, they got on walls, they got a whole bunch of cool displays here. You got board games of Pac-Man and memorabilia from classic arcades. They have that electronic thing right there. It's almost like a big iPad, and that's where they keep top scores. There's a Pac-Man line. You got Pac-Man, Junior Pac-Man, Pac-Man Plus, and of course Mrs. Pac-Man. And here's Gauntlet 2 by Atari. It's kind of an interesting racing game with 4 wheels and almost like a sprint style game. There's Gauntlet 1 by Atari. Astro Blaster, which is kind of a small mini cabinet. Defender, which is classic Williams. Strategy and Buster Bros, Capcom. Joust 2, which actually came out kind of during the beginning of the video game arcade crash, and Joust 2 didn't really sell very well. It's a very hard cabinet to find. In fact, Joust, the first Joust, is one of my favorite arcade games of all time. You're on 2 ostriches, and you're supposed to kind of jump on the other one, attack them, so to speak. There's a kind of interesting shooting game. There's the Space Harrier, Food Fight. Space Harrier was actually really cool because actually you sit down and actually moved along with your controls, which had like hydraulics system, which is really cool. Hard Driving right there briefly, just passed. Hang On by Sega as well. I spent literally all day at this place, and you can pop in about $10 and it lasts you a majority of the day. Most of these games are a quarter to play, so very, very reasonable. And they got cool signs too. These are Tato Isle. This is Jungle Hunt. Used to be Jungle King, and then they actually got sued by the people who produced Tarzan, so they changed it to Jungle Hunt. So instead of wearing a Tarzan suit, they put a safari hat. And going downstairs, Funspot is actually 3 stories. Down to the 2nd story, they've got more modern games, I suppose, and they've also got like a bumper cars area. This is more for kids section. Some redemption machines, candy machines, stuff like that. Small shooting gallery, of course, and this is more where the younger kids, I suppose, would hang out. This is not so much where the classic arcade games are. And you can see I was filming this during the midday, so it was kind of slow. This is a kind of a weird, it's called Leprechaun, a really small mini cabinet for kids. Actually a really, really challenging game. I didn't realize this, but Funspot Fun Center also has a bowling alley. So it's a full fun center. So bumper cars, bowling alley, everything. And slot machines, which is really kind of unique. And those are for tokens, and so to speak. This place does take tokens, not quarters. Here's the slot machines you can use. Not really necessarily real slot machines. Here's a closer look at the bowling alley. And also, these are more redemption. This is like a Frogger game kind of style game. On the other side, Batman. That's a really kind of cool game. Here is Off-Road, and I love that game. Lethal Enforcers, classic shooter. There's like a stack 'em game. That was actually really fun to play. You get a whole bunch of tickets that way. Downstairs they have a little redemption area. You can redeem your tickets for prizes. I Grab 'em, the machine, and Superman by TeeDorr. I'm not a huge fan of Superman. There's Operation Wolf. Here's some more redemption games. More modern games. Terminator, Salvation in the corner, right corner there. That's probably the most modern game in the released several years ago. Some pinball machines, of course, too. And you got Fast and Furious, Tokyo Drift, Star Wars, Time Crisis 3. And here's some pinball machines. They didn't have too many pinball machines. They had some upstairs in part 1 I showed. But these are more modern pinballs. I wish kind of they had more. I understand they have a lot more in storage. This is where you redeem your tickets. And there's an air bubble hockey, which is always great fun. I'd love to have one of those. Here's a few more cocktail tables. And the reason they call them cocktail tables is because you sit down and you can put your cocktail on them. Going down to the third story here, they have some more racing games. Not many fighting games at Funspot. Interesting enough. I guess back in the day they had a whole bunch, like Mortal Kombat, and there were fights that broke out, so they got rid of a lot of them, but they do have a few, and the only few that they do have here are in the lower third story here level. So that's right here, actually. Mortal Kombat, NBA Jam, Mortal Kombat 1, Mortal Kombat 2, and Mortal Kombat 3. No Street Fighter 2. No Street Fighter games at all, which is for a large arcade, the world's largest arcade. Kind of makes me scratch my head a little bit, but because that's a great one. Daytona USA. This is like a 10 or 8 to 10 person sit down area. It's really cool. Here's Daytona USA 1. That's Daytona USA 2. I mean, this is cool. More slots machines as well. That's a kind of weird arcade thing. You actually sit down. Skee ball, which is of course a classic. My strategy for skee ball is to bounce the ball off the wall. Here's NASCAR, kind of a more modern game by EA. It's a racing game. And they got it really interesting in the far back there. It's a bowling game. You have to bounce a bowling ball. You use tickets and stuff to win. It's really challenging to get to work. This is the redemption area. In the back, you can redeem prizes for, and it's really cool. And then the very far part of the third story here, third level, is where they actually keep like the restaurant area where they have snacks and pizza and prizes and stuff like that. So very cool area. This place was built in 1964, although the first Funspot was located in the 50s. They moved it here in 64, and it definitely looks very retro and very cool spot. Check out. Thanks for watching. Thanks for subscribing, and we'll see you soon. Take care.